Right. Good morning, everyone. We'll get started with our meeting today. So before we begin, I just want to remind everyone that the meeting is being live streamed and recorded. And I'm now going to call the roll. If you can please raise your hand and state your presence when I call your name. Mayor Watson is absent today. Deputy Mayor Nelson?
Present.
Councillor Watt?
Present.
Councillor Berger?
Present.
Sorry, Councillor Berger, can you just speak up one more time?
Yes, present.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson?
Present.
Thank you. And from staff, I'm Martina Shade Hartwig, I'm the clerk. We have our CAO, Alana Arthurs, interim treasurer Paul Creamer, fire chief Chuck Pedersen, chief building official Don Hellman, planner Christina Coulter, manager of public works Jake Condon, library CEO Maggie Pearson, and our manager of public recreations Mike Moon is absent today. So there is a quorum of the committee in attendance, so we will call the meeting to order at 10:02. Our first order of business is the election of a chair and a vice chair. Are there any nominations for committee chair this morning? Deputy Mayor Nelson.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Watt.
I'd like to second that motion.
Are there any other motions for nomination this morning? All right, all in favor of Councillor Watt being our chair? I see all in favor. Excellent. Are there any nominations for vice chair for the committee? Deputy Mayor?
I'd like to nominate Adam Root.
Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Seeing none, is anyone?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Johnson.
I'll decline.
Okay, Councillor Johnson has declined. Councillor Root, would you accept the nomination if it's seconded?
Sure.
I would second it too.
Okay, and Councillor Johnson has seconded that. All in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you very much. So our chair for this next term of the Committee of the Whole is Councillor Watt. And yeah, would you like to move down? I'm going to do the document for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very good. And so we'll start us off with number 3.
All right. And welcome to our committee of the whole meeting for February 13th, 2024. As previously stated, this is being live streamed on our YouTube channel. And we do have a quorum of council, and I would like to welcome everyone to the meeting today, staff and council. Thank you very much. So, without further ado, our land acknowledgement, we respectfully acknowledge that we are on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mishi-Segi Anishinaabe. We offer our gratitude to the First Peoples for their care and teachings about our earth and our relations. May we honor these teachings. Okay, any disclosure of pecuniary interest through the council committee members? Seeing none. Adoption of today's agenda. Need a mover and a second. Councillor Johnson, Deputy Mayor Nelson. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Okay, delegations, petitions, and presentations. I see we have none. So we'll move right on to the manager's reports. As we've talked about before, council should have had time to read them all. So if there's any new additions that staff have, by all means, this is the time to bring them up. And if there's any questions from council or other staff members, or very well could be other staff members that have a question, by all means, Let's get it all addressed today, and thank you very much, and we'll start right off, Mike Boot is away today, as was previously stated, for the recreational facilities report. There is a report there. Is there any questions or comments on that report that any member would like to address?
To the chair, I would just like to ask Mike down the road here, how he's making it with the advertisement for the arenas for on the inside arena for the posting, and also on the board outside as we do the public speaking every week. I see most of the week is posted, which that's where it should be. But I just want to focus on it.
All right, so if
But I would agree.
all council will update, or all committee members, when he can put that together, that would be good. Anything else, Mr. Johnson? So, any other, Adam? Any questions? Seeing no more, I guess I only have, and it's more just a query than I guess whatever else, but we need an ORCA permit to redo the field over at the Legion, do we?
Yes.
Is that because of the proximity of the water, or is there setbacks? Like, I wasn't quite sure why, with that bulk has been there for years, why do we need a ORCA permission?
I believe the issue was more the movement of the fill and that kind of thing, but it could be entirely because of proximity. I'm not sure. He didn't anticipate there was going to be an issue with it. He had already spoken to Marty at Orca.
Okay.
So they believe that they'll be able to get that in place.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, seeing no other questions or comments, could I have a motion to receive that with thanks? Deputy Mayor Nelson, Councilor Johnson, all in favor? Carried, thank you very much. Okay, fire department, Chuck, whenever you're ready.
Okay, I'll just highlight a couple things. So just a note on our certification process, we did get our second submission back on approvals for our legacy. So that's kind of a step one, and now we have everybody kind of where they need to be or where they fit. And now we're just working on the plans and giving options for firefighters if they want to be certified. Majority of ours are, but a few gaps that we're filling multiple. We'll work on those plans on seeing how we're going to be able to achieve our goals for 2026 and 2028 when the legislation comes in effect for everyone to be certified. Our calls, just focus on that a bit. We ended 2023 with 452 calls for help. That was up about 5% over the previous year. And so far in January, we had 43, which is up to 14% over the same period in 2023. Since the report was written, we were able to execute a memorandum of understanding with Lakeville College Schools, so they've agreed as a community partner to provide us access at no charge to their pressurized hydrant system. So that's a big win for us and helps with some of the other development in the area as well. Trying to get that 5 kilometers, but we have some dry hydrants in the areas, but they're beyond the 5 kilometers for that particular region. So that's a nice community partner, and very good of them to do that for us. So not to go into if there's any questions on that.
Excellent. Any questions, comments for Craig?
To the chair, Chuck, has there been any situations on the ice this year? Yeah.
With just an animal, but
Okay.
no people.
Okay,
Yeah, we've done the training, but the ice is a little bit, it's a weird year this year, that's for sure.
I know, you're all over. No, good report, Mike.
Thank you. Councilor Report, any questions, comments?
Nothing on my end there, sorry.
All right, no problem, thank you very much. Staff, any comments, questions? All right, seeing no other motion by Councilor Johnson, second by Councilor Report. Receive with thanks, all in favor? Thank you very much, sir. Public Works, Jake, you're on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, through the chair. I'll just touch on a couple of highlights here. We've assisted the fire department and completed the Johnwood Fire Hall cistern replacement at the Douro-Dummer Fire Hall. We have received our new excavator with the brush head. We have it out, we've completed Clifford Road, we're down on the 4th line of Dummer, heading towards Cateslo. Working a few bugs out, but for the most part, it's working good. We have outfitted it to our liking, you know, we got our 2-way radio in it and such, and it's working good so far. So we responded to 7 winter events in December and 12 in January. Just in comparison to 2022, that was 16 in December and 14 in January. So as Chuck had mentioned, it's an odd year, but so the winter events have been down. On the waste management side of things, the household hazardous waste days have been scheduled for the Halls Glen transfer station. They are May 25th and August 17th, 2024. And that's about it. If there's any questions, I can happy to answer.
Or open any questions, comments, from members of the committee or staff?
I'll make a motion to receive the report with thanks.
Motion by Councilor Johnson, second by.
I'll second it.
I just have one comment. Thank you, Councilor Rohr. I just have one question, and I don't know this for you, the treasurer, but I remember in past years, we put a fund together that was going to contribute to every year, maybe only to a max, I'm not sure, but for if we ran into a rougher winter than normal, kind of like that, so we had a backup pot of money to draw from. Is that something we still have? Is it something we still contribute to? Or was that like it's fallen and that's where it sits at the moment?
I'll let Paul answer that.
To you, Councilor Watt. We do still have that reserve. Off the top of my head, I don't know the balance. I could get back to council on that, but it is probably something I'm going to be reviewing all of our reserves and the process in which we contribute to and draw from. And that's probably a reserve where we can look at and ensure that any kind of surplus funds from the annual winter maintenance budget is contributed to. And then if we have a deficit or a busy year, we would draw from that reserve. I'm not sure it's been a concern the last few years. I think we've actually had some increase in material costs that may have put us over budget, but the winter events may have been a little lower. I think it's kind of balancing each other out the last few years.
Appreciate that, thank you, because I know that was what it was for, and I think it was when we did have a bad year, we were over quite a bit. And, you know, that doesn't necessarily have to be snow, but like, you know, maybe ice storms, that kind of thing, and the salt and sand. And we had to maybe top up the shed twice in the winter instead of once, kind of like that. So I know we put that in there for a reason, so I just want to make sure it was still on course. Thank you very much. All right, motion on the floor, but I receive with thanks, all in favor. Carried, thank you very much. Jake? We're good now. Jake, are you in the first review report also?
I am, yeah.
All right, then go ahead, please.
Thank you. Through the chair, the recommendation before you is that the Public Works 2024-03 report dated February 13, 2024 regarding Birch Road be received for information. This is in response to Council's resolution number 420-2023 regarding some upcoming work with Bell and what improvements can be done as part of the Birch Road schedule work in 2024. Just kind of an overview of this. The staff reached out to Bell and Hydro One. Neither Bell nor Hydro One had any information on any works planned for this area in the foreseeable future. The Ontario government has funded various high-speed internet projects through the province. Rogers Communications has been awarded the contract for this area. We did reach out to Rogers and didn't receive any communication back prior to the report. However, notifications are from various agencies of this sort are typically sent out to municipality prior to any work being completed on within the road allowances. And we do work closely with those agencies prior to work commencing to determine the best approach. with the least impact to our infrastructure. And we do coordinate with those agencies when it's appropriate. The work for Birchview Road in 2024 that's scheduled is patching various breakup points for areas, and then it's to do or to receive a single core surface treatment, which was all approved in the 2024 budget. So if there's any questions regarding that report, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions from meeting members? Go ahead.
Through the chair, just a couple of comments, I guess, on this letter. Jake, anybody in the business knows that any road that is looked at that has not been totally reconstructed and re-engineered does not meet engineering standards, and that goes right across the province. I mean, every municipality, there's not very many municipalities within within Ontario that actually every road meets engineering standards. And anything that's been reconstructed, yes, that has been engineered and reconstructed. We have very few in our township. We do have a few that we redone, which was University Road and Douro-Dummer Road. But I can assure you that we are still, as far as our liabilities are concerned, there's another road within the township that meets vertical and horizontal engineering standards. And I'm very confident in saying that. So having said that, it's millions of dollars to redesign and construct to engineering standards of municipal roads that we have. And there's no possible way that we could afford that as a municipality. We're not a county, and we're a municipality, and there's no way our taxes could ever support that. And for what the road is, for what Birchview Road is, not picking on it or any other road for that matter, we have other problems throughout our municipality that surpass, I guess, spending this kind of money on Birchview Road. So that's just a comment I have, just to make people aware that is pretty typical throughout the province. So anyways, thanks for your report on that, Jake.
To the chair. In the letter they sent us, there's one thing that I don't like, and we sure can erase it. But as they made note, as you all know, Birchview Road has serious road safety problems. And then it continues on about the speed and then it says potential liability to the township. I mean, I don't like that that's in there. I'm sure we can't take it out because they wrote it. But I would like to know, Chuck, that we feel comfortable that statement they made in there, that we don't have a problem with it. Do you know what I mean? The letter they sent, where it starts with, as you know, Birchview Road has serious road safety problems.
Yeah, through the chair. Well, you can take that two ways. That's from the author of the letter.
I appreciate that, but I just want to
We
be
have,
sure.
as the deputy mayor had mentioned, we have liability issues on various roads within the township. They're not engineered. You can pick them apart as much as you want. You're gonna find something. What we've done with Birchview Road, what we've had with the past speed study, I believe it was called. We've made all the recommendations that were in that report have all been completed, even the optional ones. So I feel confident with staff and with the municipality that we've done our due diligence with that road.
All right, thank you. That was my concern.
Deputy Mayor Nelson.
Thank you through the chair. Just another thought to keep in mind. When the engineering firm, when I've done this, because it doesn't meet engineering standards, it doesn't mean that the municipality is liable or on the hook to actually bring that up to standards. Even with the work that we have done on that road and the work that we are going to do on that road is not, we are not obligated to bring that road to a standard of what they think we should be doing. And it's the same thing with all our other township roads that they do not meet the engineering standards that as far as road building goes. So, and we are not obligated, under no obligation to actually bring them up to that standard. So I feel confident it's a letter that they have written, but it's not up to the municipality to bring it up to that standard.
Well, I'm like you answered the chair. Yeah, my comment was just strictly for the liability.
Yeah.
Stating that you know this, it was also out to someone say, well, you knew this all along, something's gonna happen. You know, the liability.
Our council report, any comments, Dennis?
No comments here. I'd like to make a motion to receive the report.
All right, to receive the report as requested. Thank you very much. Secretary, Councilor Johnson. Any other comments, questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Thanks, Jake. Okay, first view report is done. Public library, Maggie. Good morning.
Morning. No. Shall I go to the podium? Oh, I just maybe it's okay. It's not a big deal. I won't go over for the chair. I won't go through the report, but I will just highlight, like others have, a few things that I think have been important. I included a couple photos of programming that occurred over the last few months. So one of those is the seniors computer literacy course. One of the projects that worked on at the library over the last 3 months was setting up the new computer lab. So together with Mike, we installed 2 new computers, a bunch of other new hardware, so that program can run. And then another highlight I just wanted to point out was that I just heard from the Asphodel Norwood CEO, and their board last night adopted our reciprocal borrowing agreement. So our board will look at that tonight, hopefully, which will be really helpful for residents who live just on the line, closer up into Dummer, so that we can work with each other's libraries. And then I just wanted to kind of, point out some of our stats. We have 50 new library members, which is really great. It's on par with our average of gaining about 17 or 18 new library members every month. 617 community program participants. That is really that. So if there are any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, committee members, any questions, comments? I have one we could make. I was going to actually ask it this afternoon, which I will at the beginning. But yeah, under the first comments you have here under the administrative draft a reciprocal borrowing agreement with Asphodel Norwood Public Library. So do we have one of those Lakeville at the moment or Peterborough? I know we talked about it one time, but I didn't know whether we had any in place at the moment yet.
Yes, we have an agreement with Peterborough Public Library.
Okay.
And it's for physical items in the collection. So anybody with a Douro-Dummer Public Library card can take their card to the Peterborough Public Library and set up an account there and check out any of their physical items, and vice versa.
I've seen more uptake for our residents going into Peterborough than Peterborough residents coming to us.
So if someone from Peterborough came to you, is there a cost for that, or is that just a receipt?
No, that's the idea, is
Trade-off.
that the cost is waived, but because it's only for physical items, it doesn't, we can't do it for online resources because our licensing is based on population, so we can't offer them that, but.
Okay, thank you. If there's no other comments or questions, motion to receive the thanks. Deputy Mayor Nelson. Councilor Johnson, second. All in favor?
Yes.
Carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm gonna head back to the library.
See you this afternoon. All right, moving on, building department report. You're on, Bob, thank you.
Thank you, and through the chair. Work in front of you. I think one of the things that gets noted there is that after our public meeting late last year, with approval of our new fee, we sent out our permit renewal letters. Just want to give a little bit of an update, more of an update on some of the numbers that we've seen since then. So we started receiving some inquiries about that starting with January 26th. We've communicated with over 500 people. So approximately 300 voicemails, 125 emails, and 75 walk-ins. Of that, we've been able to look at about 20 to 25% of the total of those communications and looking. With those 35% of them, it appears that we've closed kind of right away with no fee and be able to get through that with just administrative work. 10% of them appear to be able to be closed with potentially one site visit right now. And so again, where the fee will be waived and something like that, but we can go confirm that the work has been completed. So for instance, maybe the occupancy was done, but never a final. So we just need to go and make sure the project's complete. We know that the health and safety of the project is there already. So that's something that we can move forward. We communicate that the fee would be waived at that time. 25% of those people that we've already communicated with have either paid the invoice and kind of confirmed that work is still ongoing and they still have a bit more to continue the project. So that's great for us, get those records up to date and we're also in that time, we're able to get them on the cloud permit as well and kind of explain that system a bit on how they can request their inspections when they're ready. We talked to them about the need to continue to progress their project as well. And then it looks like we have about 30% of that now in the balance there is just that needs a little bit more review from us. So we have to dig a little deeper into the file, figure out exactly what position it's at, where our notes are at, where their notes are at, and potentially get a site visit that we haven't determined yet in those whether the fees due or not due. We've communicated that with the person and we will continue to communicate with them whether we feel the fee is due or is, and we'll have that discussion. With all that being said, we put clear messaging on our voicemails that allow the people when they call in and leave a message to understand that we receive that message and that because of our high volume, they can expect to get a response within 3 to 4 weeks from us and that we'll be in touch. In the meantime, there's nothing more that they need to do. We'll be reaching out. On top of that, our building department administrator is making complete lists and we're kind of printing them off every few days. And we're getting to another staff member to make calls back to those people. So though we can put the messaging onto our voicemail, we're calling back and there's a clear message being given back to them, just the same thing as our voicemail visit. We have received it. There's currently nothing more for them to do until the building department gets an opportunity to review the file, just due to the amount of inquiries we have, and that we will be in touch. Currently, there's nothing more, and we will be in touch whether the bill is or isn't due, or we can have that conversation at that time. We're just trying to let them know that we're not saying the invoice is due, it's that we just have to do a little bit more work to follow up with them. Typically, we found that most people are receptive in our communication. It has given us, as my report indicates, it's given us an opportunity to really talk with a lot of people within the community and get not only our records up to date, make them feel comfortable, and most of them are, are leaving happy and satisfied with the information that they're getting. So that's kind of where we're at with our records. Didn't know if there was any questions more with that.
Yeah, through the chair. That isn't a response I'm getting done. Even as of last night, I had a very angry customer call me, and there's a little caveat to this as well. He he felt that his building permit, we can talk about who the person is later on, but in private. But what happened was he is trying to do another business venture that he needs a clear permit. Two building officials, prior building officials, had went and told him he was complete. This guy is actually a builder as well. So now the bank is holding back funds that he needs because he needs they say he's got an outstanding permit. So he made the call to the building department and was told that somebody would get back to him in 3 weeks, and he has no way of communicating unless he walks in, and he's that upset. He feels that he's being slighted, and I gotta agree with him. When two chief building officials have been there and closed the place out, and there's no documentation on that, sorry, that's a problem. And in 3 weeks, I don't care what way you want to weigh it. I really feel that us as council had been led down the garden path on this letter. And this letter is extremely threatening to people that don't even know that they have an outstanding building permit. And Don, I know it's already gone out, but I really feel that a letter needs to go back out explaining this. And also telling people, I don't care when we want to bring the fee in, a year from now, 6 months from now, but it needs to be addressed to the people, because I know for a fact there's a whole lot more people out there that are very upset that has not actually made the calls. And I've gotten probably most of them. I don't know whether other people have gotten, there's other people on council have gotten these calls, but I have sat with Alana a couple of times on this, and I do, after reading the letter, I do feel that it's very threatening. For example, 25 years back, I don't even know whether we even have records that far back. And that's one call that I got. And an open permit, I think things could have been handled a whole lot different and not such a threatening. When I read that letter, it's threatening. It is threatening. If you don't pay, it's going on to taxes. And I think we need to present that to the people a whole lot different. Another thing that was a complaint to me was, do you know how much we paid for a building permit? And it's, yes, they do pay a lot. And I'm standing behind you on trying to get these closed. I understand that. But I think something needs to be addressed, and I'm willing to make a motion here whenever we get that far, that another letter go out to these people. If the ones that are closed off, if you've already done that. I also have another question for you, Don, is how many people have just sent the check in the mail and not, like, never questioned it? Has that happened? With the people that you've sent letters out?
Through the chair, I wouldn't have the exact number on that. I feel that probably for most people that paid, we've had communication with them. A lot of the ones that I've seen that have paid come to the counter. And as I've indicated, have said, yeah, I understand this project is ongoing and we'll get that. And we've had some with multiple building permits, and they've said, this one's closed. Yeah, I can agree these two are open, and they paid the fee. But just if I can, I also through the chair, and I can appreciate the comment. I hear them, and the intent was definitely not to be threatening in the letter, but I understand that there are some people who viewed it that way. It would be a learning experience for me at this time. I was, again, trying to be concise and not kind of overburden with information, but at the same time, it maybe didn't come across the way that I intended. So I definitely can learn from that. And again, if we can, I'm happy to hear council's, push if we need to send further communication or what we need to do. If I could just for the people who are upset, I do, if there's an opportunity for them to call in the building department, there is, and I'm not suggesting this is the best way, but at this stage, I think that we can put them at ease. I think that's what I was trying to get at with the people. Once we've talked with them, people seem to be a little more at ease. So I can appreciate what the tone of the letter may have come across. I see that now, but I do think that once they talk to us, I do believe as a staff, we are helping get them at ease and helping them understand where we're at. So definitely something to be learned from some on that.
To just follow, I appreciate that, Don. I realize once the horse is out of the barn, there's not a heck of a lot you can do about it except try and deal with that. But I really feel an obligation that we need to, at least the ones that is we're still dealing with, and maybe them all, send them a letter, just send a letter out explaining what the position was. And I'm sorry, I never seen the letter or knew anything about it until we started getting phone calls. And, you know, I support you 100% on us trying to get these closed out. And absolutely, we need to put a fee on it for the building department's time and effort. But I think that it needed to be, I sat here as well as the rest of the council thinking that was not the case, and we asked that question. And I don't believe that was your intention either. But when you see that letter and it says you're expected to pay or else it's going to be put on your taxes and everything else that's in the letter, that's threatening. And anyways, a good lesson learned, I think, from it. But we need to, I think, I'd be willing to make a motion that we need to send the people back a letter with some explanation. I think it'll do kudos for the building department. I really do. I think it's money well spent on doing that. When the time's right, I'd like to make a motion to do that.
Councilor Young.
Yeah, through the chair. This has been going on for years and years. I've sat here many times asking, you know, how are the building permits? Are they following them up on them? They tell you they're messed in 25 years, but when they're 7, 8 years, you know, like, why aren't we telling people, you know, you got to do something? So, I mean, the way I look at it is that we asked you to do a job and you're doing it. And it's not a very comfortable job, as you can see now, for this aspect, because I would have to say, following up with some people that called me too, is that you got the dirty job to try to clean these up to the point that some of the building inspectors that we had before maybe didn't do their job what way we thought they were doing the job. So I'm not saying any more than that, except the fact is that I know that what you are doing has to be done. We want to clean these things up. But on the other hand, like I say, maybe the letter was a little pushy, but I think when you explain it and talk to the people, and hopefully you can iron these out, which it sounds like you are, because some of them are standing firm that they were told and everything was closed and they never knew that this was outstanding. And as you and I know, and everybody knows, it doesn't come up till you try to sell your property and all of a sudden, well, just a minute, you never finish this. So then that's when it becomes very costly. So I mean, this is if once they understand that, this is a good way out to clean these up. And I appreciate what you're doing, because I do know that a lot of these you had nothing to do with, but we asked you to clean them up. So I mean, I always think there are two sides to every story. So I mean, there's some sides that, on the other hand, that people neglected to do it. I mean, it's their responsibility and their fault as much as it is you trying to do your paperwork. So saying all that, I wanted to keep going on it. And the main thing is, you said that 3 or 4 weeks, maybe we can cut that down to a couple of weeks, you know, just to at least to communicate to them and tell them, hey, yeah, no, you're down with it, and you come look at it. But when you have to, when they're not closed and they swear that the building inspector from the past has closed it and set theirs, whatever. Were you able to, or are you even interested in talking to some of the other building inspectors? Or is that just done in the past and you were dealing with it? Like, how are you addressing that?
Through the chair, Councilor Johnson, I'm definitely would, if we felt the need to reach out to the old building official at the time or the building inspector, whoever needed it. That being said, we also do a thorough review of the file. We have some technology in our, like, we can attend the site and we can look at that and we can say, so we have a thermal imaging camera, so we can look at a bit of the insulation. Do we think that's right? We look at the general repair of the building. You know, do we notice any structural cracks within the foundation? Do we notice any cracks within the drywall, the finishings? Is there anything that looks like it's of issue? And as long as we need to be comfortable that the work was done according to plan. So we're not here to order gun covers and to look at this stuff. So we're trying to be as reasonable as we can, attend the site and say, do we believe that this work was done accordingly? And if we see something that's a glaring issue, then we'll talk to the homeowner about that and try to discuss. And we have to also, just to go on that, is we are looking at the code of the day. So it's not just enforced on this code, it's the code at which the permit was issued. So we talk to the homeowner about, do we think that's an issue? Why do we think it's an issue? So for instance, if there was a large crack in a foundation and there was never any indication that there was, for instance, a footing inspection or something, we may talk to them about, hey, we might need to get a bit more looking there or see this, or do you have any issues? So just really going at it methodically. It's not that we won't reach out to the other building official, but we also, you know, we're not looking to burden a private citizen at this point, which they've been in what they are. And the municipality, at the end of the day, it's my job to kind of make sure that we are comfortable that this work's been done accordingly. So we definitely, even with septics, we'll reach out to the installer at the time. We'll have a conversation with, do you remember what you did? Or we might go and locate the four corners of the bed and say, yeah, this is, you know, it appears to be in the size that was discussed on the permit. Like, we do a lot of the legwork on that. So we're there to help the people get through this, get these closed. And aside from the letter, and thank you, Councilor Johnson, I think that the key here is that these do come up when the time comes to sell a property. And it's something that we've looked at when we review our building department. We say, how much time are we spending? It's in these old files. And when they get caught up with the lawyer just before a sale, it's kind of pandemonium for everyone, and there's a lot of anxiety there too. And that's what our intent was, to try to get in front of. And so again, it was learning for me. I see it, but that is still the intent. We are still committed to working with the ratepayer to get their project completed, closed out, and protect the municipality as well.
Well, I know we've had situations in the past that they said, you will not come on my property. I mean, we fought with some people for years, not just months and whatever, for years and years, through the lawyers and everything else. So I do know it can be very uncomfortable. But so I think what we asked you to do, you're doing it. And I think that the main thing is to keep communicating with them and let them understand that someday they'll come back and bite you if you don't clean it up. But then again, we're doing our job to clean it up. Thank you.
Councilor Brewer, any questions?
Yes, through you, Councillor Watt. I would really like to echo Councillor Johnson's comments, as well as pick up on a couple from Deputy Mayor Nelson. I actually haven't had any comments on this topic from constituents at all. I will raise my hand, and as a homeowner who's owned my property now in the township for 5 years, say that I too am guilty of having an old permit that's not been closed out. That's no fault of the townships. That is a fault of mine. Unfortunately, getting a strongly worded letter in the mail with the possibility of getting charged some money for having a tardy permit, sometimes that's a heck of a good way to get someone's attention. With that, they're able to pick up the phone, as Dawn said, and call the office and talk about their situation. And I think it would be, I think it might be a good thing for everyone to look at having a little bit of discretion in terms of fees, if that's a concern for folks. Building permits that are sitting there for 5+ years, they're definitely not like fine wine. They don't get any better. And as Councillor Johnson said, Dawn was given a pretty tough task here of cleaning up old permits. It's unfair for Dawn to be pressured to get permits closed out that have been there for years. and then on the other hand, also cause him grief when he's doing his job. That's definitely not a fair practice there. And as I said, I can definitely empathize with folks as well. People are busy and people are tied up, but getting these permits looked after, taking us from 900 down to 400 or something in the span of a year, or 500 in the span of a year, is really good progress. If we don't do this, it just encourages this behavior to continue too. If, for example, we have 200 new permits issued this year, what's to keep 25 or 30 of those from floating around for another 5 years as well? So it's a tough job, and thank you, Dawn, for taking this on. There's a lot of unpleasant phone calls, but sometimes that's just the way it is.
Thank you. If I may, just a few words here. And I haven't had a whole lot. I have had a couple, and both of them, 9, 10, 12 years old, kind of guy. It's like the building inspector of the time was here. We had the discussion. Yep, we're all done. It's closed off. And then, however, whatever, something, it comes back, never got closed off. Whether it was just a miscommunication, whether the paperwork got lost, whatever, they're saying, like, so we've been sitting in our house for 10 years thinking that everything's all said good. Not that they're trying to sell it, but it would come back with repercussions, nothing. So now I have to pay for something that I was already told was done. So that kind of works a little bit. It's only $200, but $200 is $200 to a lot of people. So like, why do I have to pay that now? And why do I have to get somebody to come back and look at it when it was already done? How do you prove it? Yeah, so there's the two sides of that. So that's a real tough one for a lot of people by the sound things. I guess I'm kind of curious, is there a way, like, and I don't know the whole process. So when they get their occupancy, when you give that, and then shortly after that is when the final is done, or how does that work? Or where is the final supposed to get done before they get their occupancy? Can you explain that one to me just for a sec before I go on?
Absolutely. Thank you very much. So the occupancy is more health and safety related, and for them to be able to live in the house. So there is a substantial amount of work that needs to be completed by the time that we grant occupancy. But final is kind of that whole project. So potentially you may know someone who's built their own house and they have a push to move in because they potentially are renting somewhere else, right? So they get their kitchens and bathrooms done, they get their gardens and their stairs done, but maybe the trim isn't done, like the baseboards and the casings. There might be some doors that aren't on, excuse me, some flooring might not be done. Outside, maybe the final grade is not established. There's those little outlying things that need to get done that can create issues if they're not done in time. So that's the final is kind of when the project's fully complete. So occupancy takes care of a lot of that stuff, but little things like vegetation needs to be established in the surrounding yard of the house. We need to make sure that erosion is going to be prevented, settling is going to be prevented, stuff like that. So those are the things that get captured in the final, but not necessarily in the occupancy, caulking on windows, some other things like that. So though there is still, can be a fair amount of work outstanding. And again, so the final is left for that to happen. But yeah, probably majority of the work is done at the time of occupancy, but there's still some stuff to come back and see.
And my thought train on that is just going forward, so we don't get into this predicament again, is, with today's technology, sometimes things are fairly easy. So on the computer, on that particular file, let's say Joe Smith's file or like that, he has occupancy done today. So, and then it's flagged for 2 years from now, like maximum of time frame on like that if a final isn't done by that time, it automatically flags the department. The department sends a letter. It's been 2 years since your occupancy, you don't have your final yet, and we need to get this done and, put the ball in their court to get it finished and give it a timeline on it. Maybe it's 3 months, whatever like that, to respond or to get it done, get the final done. And so that could be something fairly easy. So, and I also wonder if it may be a good idea to send a letter out when the final is given and, so if this is your final inspection, so you're free and clear, please keep this for your records. But then we also have a record of that being sent out, so that's going to alleviate, I think, a lot. I think the notification somehow that you know, not going forward, that we have another 500 in the future that they didn't get closed, we can trigger something in our system to flag us for that.
Absolutely. And so the chair, trust council, absolutely, with our technology today in the system we currently use, we've now been implementing that. So we have completion dates. So it's not at final, but it is once the permit's issued, we have it, and they'll get an email notification 3 months in advance that lets them know that it's still out there. So with the technology, with the system we're using today, we can do that. One of the issues that we do have is the township has been through, and we take 25 years or even 10 years, we've been through a few different things, and that information, those two systems don't always talk perfectly together. And so we're unable to go back on the old permits and add those things in, but anything that's on cloud permit, those are things that we can do and have now implemented. We've also got our messaging at the time of permit issuance. They're being made aware of this as well. So these are the things that moving forward, we're able to get in front of. We can learn, we can see these things, and now we get there. The old permits, those are ones that there wasn't the information available to us to be able to do that stuff with them in our current software. So the letter, again, understand the need for potential software word in that letter, but that letter was the way to go about and get that information to them.
And my last point, but I think you answered, but I'm not sure. So let's say a permit's been outstanding 12 years and it was for something with a door, I guess. But now, 12 years later, the new regulations, it has to be like a inch and a quarter door instead of an inch door. Like, you go back to what it was when the permit was under, you go with today's standards. And it's like, how do you know what the standard was 12, 15, 20 years ago? When like that, that's got to be a tricky one too.
And to the chair, it is a great question, and it is. And that's the challenging part with these old permits is the research to go back to the code of the day and enforce it. You know, we've had someone who said they did their occupancy, when they did their inspection, they're like, yeah, we were moving in, none of the doors were on, they had a few things missing. And it's noted in the inspection report, they just never called me for the inspection back. We go back, we confirm that those things are now done, and it gets signed off and he gets waived. So this is what's allowing us to progress through some of these, but there are some where they just kind of forget about it or don't know, but yeah, we only enforce that code at that time. And it still takes us the research to do that if we need it, but it doesn't mean that we're going to add the fee just because we're really looking at it. And we have an internal policy that really just talks about amount of visits that's required and it's the work done. And if we can make sure that the work's done kind of in that one visit and get this closed, that's what we want to do. If there is outstanding work, then that's where we need to talk about why the renewal is still there, because there's going to be multiple inspections that we need to continue carrying on.
All right, thank you. Everyone else?
Through the chair again, thanks for all your answers there, Don. One other question I have, and I was asked this, is legally, once we pass the bylaw, are we allowed to go back and do we not have to give people a grace period before we can enforce that bylaw? Normally, you cannot go back and retrieve money, I don't think, but I don't know. That's the answer I guess I'm looking for. And maybe somebody can answer that question. Do we have a legal right? Once we pass that bylaw, it's normally from then on. So from that bylaw, from the passing of the bylaw, we can collect, say, the $200 on any outstanding permits. But do we legally have a right to go back and collect on the permits that was already issued? That's the question. Before the bylaw.
And through the chair, I believe at the heart of the question, I think my answer would be is the bylaw was passed before we implemented the fee. And so the building bylaw was amended. We had our public meeting, we amended the bylaw on our fees. And then once that happened, then we went and did the permit renewal letters. So we've had the bylaw in place in order to go and collect the fee, if that's the question.
Well, kind of, but the question is, can we go back and collect off of the fees from prior, from the building permits prior? That's my question. And I was asked that, and I didn't know what the answer was.
Through Chair Watt to I think the fee that we are charging is essentially for the work that is being done. So going back, taking a look at the file, having to do inspections, so it's trying to recoup the cost of staff time, not specifically related to the cost of permit. So that is why in this particular case, it's a fee for the staff time that is required to be able to close out that permit. And like Don said, some of them they're going and it is staff time and they're still not charging the fee. I think too, one thing that Don did not mention is this came to council in 2019 with the same fee of $200 and never happened because of COVID. So this is something that Don has brought back to rectify and move forward. We did talk about the letter and after we spoke, I appreciate that some people were offended by the letter and we certainly can soften that and Don and I chatted about that and how we change that moving forward. But I think in the number of people that he has spoken with, I appreciate that some of them contacted you directly. I would ask you if they haven't contacted the building department, please encourage them to at this point, because I'm sure there's still some angst if they haven't. But I think the majority of the people that we've dealt with, it's been a good opportunity for them to interact with our building department, which has been a bit of a sore spot for a while, and things are moving in a positive direction. So I appreciate there are a few, and we certainly can look at that letter or future correspondence and soften it a little bit. I think too, I mean, some of it was our records and people did contact and say, well, this was signed off on and you should have all of that. And going back, you know, we were able to determine that. So that was one thing Don and I chatted about potentially in the letter. We should have owned that a little bit to say, yes, this is our records, not the fault of the current people in the department, but this is our township records and some of them were just not up to date. So we could have handled that differently and not necessarily anticipating what was going to come if the letter went out the way the letter went out. But it's all good information coming back and hopefully we'll have a good resolution.
Thanks for that. I do maybe have a thought of a suggestion, maybe that might help. Maybe on our website, we do a little blurb about the building department and a little bit of an explanation is what I'm looking for the people. And maybe on the website might be a way of putting out more letters or whatever, just a little blurb about what we've done as council for the building department and to get these permits closed in. I think a lot of it is the stress of people not even knowing they have an open building permit, or that maybe not to sit here and say who's right or wrong and blame the township or blame the people. But it's just some explanation on why we are doing this and just a little bit of verbiage. And I think it'd be a great way to do it, to put the message out on, everybody won't see it, but doesn't matter what you do. They never see everything, but at least we can refer some of the people back to take a look at the website and see what the building department is doing. I'm here to put you off in a good light, Don. I really am. But it's how do I say it? It's frustrating when people are so angry, and it is frustrating. So that's all I'm saying. So that's my suggestion, David.
Through the chair to the deputy mayor, just quickly confirming, we can put a pop-up on the website and I'm sure we can put a link in there to send it to a page, and maybe we will do the equivalent two-way letter, just explaining. The pop-up can just say, did you receive a letter? You know, please click here for further information, something like that. And then we can do a separate page that will indicate what the intention was, you know, the fact that our records potentially are not up to date, please give us a call, you know, let's rectify the problem. As opposed to, I would feel better about that than sending out another batch of letters. Just it would take a lot of staff time to confirm who they've spoken to, who they haven't, and if we're sending out, they've already spoken, it could create some other issues that way. So if you're comfortable with that, then certainly we'll put something on the website.
Sorry, through the chair. I believe that'd be great. I think that would satisfy a lot of people's anxiety, I guess. Just be proactive in explaining what we're doing. Thanks.
I think we've had a good discussion on that. I think it's time to move on. Councilor Johnson, what is comment?
Yeah, through the chair. Don, I've been around that we hired a lot of building inspectors and some of them didn't maybe work out to what we expected or what they were being paid to do. But I must say that one thing I always said to them was that, you know, there are people. They're paying our wages, your wage, all this kind of thing. So no one is asking you or anybody else to do something wrong. But I guess in the long sense, the bottom line is, there's two ways of saying no. And we've had situations in the past, now, it's all wrong, do it, just walk away for just a minute, like, especially some people that have been around for, you know, years and years and used to doing things their own, and no permits and everything else. I'm just saying that, communicate, talk to these people, and most of them they won't like your answer probably a lot of times, but the bottom line is, you explain that this is what goes on today. And compared to saying, no, if you don't like it, look up the building code. Well, they don't know that, they don't want to do that. So I've always said that there are people, and we do want to treat them royalty. But we're not breaking the laws, I'm not saying to change anything, but I'm just working with them, that means so much.
Good, thank you. Okay, so let's,
Make a motion to
receive the thanks, Councillor Johnson, Deputy Mayor Nelson, all in favor? Carried, thank you very much, good discussion. You're on, thank you.
Thank you, Chair Watt, members of the committee. You have my report, so I'm just going to highlight a few items from the report. The planning department has reinitiated the cloud permit planning module. We've communicated our challenges to the software provider, and we're hopeful that we're going to have a functional product this year. The technical advisory committee for the county official plan met in December and January, and we're meeting again this month. At our last meeting, we began reviewing and recommending changes to the official plan based on the proposed provincial planning statement. In terms of source water protection, we completed our annual progress reporting for the Trent Source Protection Plan under the Clean Water Act, and we excuse me, met our deadline of February 1st for that process. And I think just generally speaking, the planning inquiries, pre-consultations, formal applications continue to be received. They don't appear to be slowing down. In fact, I think last year we had a total of 8 rezoning applications. We've already received 5 in the month of January and February for this year. Both the Donwood and the Halls Glen subdivisions appear to be working towards completing their draft plan conditions. And it continues to be busy in the planning department. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions of committee members? Seeing none. Is the real one by the school? Is that?
Yes,
Yes.
that's correct.
I thought it was, but I just wasn't sure. All right, thank you very much. Well, seeing no questions, comments, I'll entertain a motion to receive the thanks. Deputy Mayor Nelson, Councilor Reward. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, Paul, Finance Department. Tell us how much money we got.
Thank you, Councilor Watt, through you. Just a few updates. So high level, because everything's in the report, but we all know 2024 budget was passed end of December. I think that's always helpful for managers, for clients. I think it was a good achievement getting that passed in December. You know, following that, there's some work required to get it into the system, upload the projects, and so we can do reporting on it. We're working with IT now to kind of improve and help managers get some more self-reporting on budget actuals. So hopefully that helps kind of monitoring and some better internal controls on budget there as well. We went through some year-end processes and kind of year opening processes. So there's a lot to do around payroll. I think council received the email last week on Friday. So we were able to get the T4s out, which is quite a bit earlier than we have in previous years. And I think that's in large part thanks to the new systems and processes that we've been putting in place over the last year plus. There's an update in the report on the status of kind of where we're at for tax sales. I know council ask for some information and to be kept in the loop on those processes. We're not about to register any, or we're not about to go to tax sale with any, but there are some properties that are in a position to be registered for tax sale. For the year-end audit, the auditors were here last week, wrapping up 2021. I think we're in a really good position to finish that and provide statements in March, and then hopefully 2022 follows shortly thereafter. I was also able to provide kind of a summary. In 2022, we had some modernization funds, and we allocated 100,000 to the finance department to complete various upgrades to our systems and processes, to do some reviews. And this table here summarizes what's been done to date, what's been spent, and also what is remaining, and some of the projects that I know I would like to complete. I think kind of planning out my year, there is definitely intent and plans to focus on getting up to date on our audits and our financial statements, combined with the next point in my report is the development charge study. So I think the kind of, there's still lots I would like to improve and modernize in our department, but the resources are definitely going to be going towards the audit and the development charge study, probably for a good chunk of the next few months, if not the rest of the year, because before we know it, we'll get back in the budget. I just know that's how it goes. So that's where our department's at right now. Any questions?
Yeah, to the chair. How long does this municipality have before they have to do their they can get the audit done for a previous year? Like we're finishing up 2021.
Yeah.
Some of the probably could be way in the hole in 2023 and not picked up till, how long do you get? 2 or 3 years before you have to get it done?
So through you, Chair, not sure if it's really legislated on how long you have. There are some measures put in place to kind of encourage municipalities, but I think it's just best practice, and we are legislated to get it done. I'm not sure the timeline on what is actually required. So yeah, it's not an ideal situation to be behind, but I do feel on top of things going forward, and I think we're in a position to get caught up and to stay on top of it moving forward.
And saying that, can we see a report, and maybe we've seen pieces here and there, of balance from the budgets of all the different departments to see if where last year was? I know it's getting on to the middle of February, but maybe by the 1st of March or something, just to see how they all come out last year. I guess most of them would just be putting their money back into their department, but we've allotted so much for this year. I was wondering where we stand on all of them from last year. Okay, if I can see that.
Yeah, through you, Chair, and I actually think this would probably be a good time because most of the invoices probably will have come in now and have been paid. So it's probably a good time to do a summary for the full year going back.
And our T4 slips, they'll be coming in the mail? Or they won't be on here, but. Yeah. Well, are they already been sent out on here?
Yeah, so through you, Chair.
Okay, I got mine saved somewhere.
Through the HRS MyWay system, you are able to access it. But in the email, I did indicate if you want a printed copy, just reach out to Nicole and she'll be able to print you a copy and you can pick it up there. Trying to do our best to cut down on paper and it's also a time factor, to print a couple hundred T4s and to stuff them in envelopes, whereas this just sends it out with a click of the button. So, all these little things that we can do to save time and ink and paper helps our department for sure.
Good, just gotta remember your password. All right, any other comments, questions for Paul? Seeing none? Deputy Mayor Nelson, did you want to make a motion to receive the thanks? Thank you. Second, Councilor Johnson, all in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul. All here, Martin, thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Excuse me, I'm gonna, one,
Okay, I'll just take a 2-minute break.
yeah.
Sorry.
Take a recess.
Recess.
Maybe I look into I went through it with the Dave and through with Martina. His parents are on cruise right now, so we don't let him join us at staff meetings. We're really on sick kids.
Okay, now Councilor Johnson is back in, thank you very much, and we'll just proceed on to the clerk department, Martin.
Very good. So
Very
just
good.
for the record, we're coming back from our recess at 11:15 and we started it at 11:11. So, through you, Mr. Chair. My reports before you, we did include a quick summary of all of the meetings that took place in 2023. It was a busier year than we've had in the past, so that was exciting for us to be able to complete so many meetings, all those minutes, agendas, documents, make sure that council is prepared. So we thought that was great. We just want to highlight that for you. There was a few little things that I just wanted to highlight for council as well. I know you had received a letter or an email from me earlier in the month, just about our lottery licenses. So at a previous council meeting this term, council approved a new lottery license bylaw for us, just to, our previous bylaw was quite aged, so we updated the language, made sure it was compliant with the new rules. So we did send council an email letting you know that we had sent letters out to all of our previous license holders, letting them know a new bylaw is in place, reminding them of all the forms and steps they need to take if they want to get lottery licenses in the future. Those were sent out a little while ago. We haven't heard back from any of our license holders, but we did launch a new website or a new page on our website to make sure that both the license holders and the public understand the lottery license process. So just wanted to keep you in the loop about that. As well, our new placement student has arrived. So Ava Baldi is from Trent University and she started with us in late January. She's going to be with us till April, working on a legislative project. So she's focusing on the Line Fences Act. So we have not, luckily, had a Line Fences Act application come forward since I think the last one we could find was 2013, but the act still does apply to us, and we want to make sure that we're on top of our responsibilities. So she is reviewing that, and we'll be bringing forward a new bylaw to update ours because it hadn't been updated since 2009. So that's great, and it's been really nice working with her and having that new perspective from someone who's not been in the municipal field before. It's a good opportunity for all of us to work together. So those are the big things I wanted to highlight, but I'm happy to answer any questions that council, the committee may have.
Anyone else?
Through the chair. Thanks for the report, Martina. Martina, on the Lines Fences Act, I understand we don't, there's been some changes there, I think. So are we obligated to have somebody that enforces the Line Fences Act when somebody comes with a dispute, or how does that work? Can you explain a little bit on that for me?
I can, through you, Mr. Chair, I can definitely try. So with the Line Fences Act, the municipality can choose whether they would like to use the Line Fences Act or not. The municipality can actually choose not to use the Line Fences Act, and many more urban municipalities have made that choice. As a more rural style municipality, I think that's not a choice for us. I think we do need to have that act in place. We should have line fence viewers appointed. We have not been able to find line fence viewers the last few years, and then through COVID, we just didn't have anyone coming with these types of questions. So part of this project is to ensure that we have people in place who can do line fence viewing. In the past, we had line fence viewers nominated from the community. Through our research, that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. You can actually use municipal staff as line fence viewers, or a mix of staff and the public. So when Ava brings forward her report, that's going to touch on that. But we do want something in place. Even if it's not used, it's important to be up to date and be current, because an issue could arise that we don't foresee. So that'll all be coming forward early this spring. The council's approval.
Thanks, Rick. Now, the chair, for years and years, the whole council was on that board.
Yeah.
And we never ever got called on, but we always had that designation that the whole council was.
Yeah, and that is another option. But kind of similar to Committee of Adjustment and some other committees, we're hoping to kind of move away from that, because it could become a political issue if all of council is participating, as opposed to having some type of non-political persons appointed to that role. So, but that'll all come forward in the report with all of the best practices and things we've learned through this process, which has been quite interesting.
Council report, any questions, comments?
Sorry, no, nothing on my side on that one.
So I do know of a possibility of one.
Yes.
So should they hold off until this report and the bylaw is done before they actually put in the paperwork and
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think we're probably thinking of the same place, and I am in contact with the person who has the concern, and we're going to reconvene in the spring once the ground is a bit more visible and things like that. So I have been keeping them in the loop about our project, and they will be, I imagine, coming back if it doesn't get resolved in the middle of the winter. So we should have everything in place for them to have those discussions.
all right, thank you very much. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to receive it. Council Report, you.
Motion to receive.
Thank you very much. And Council Johnson seconded. All in favor? Thank you very much. All right. Update on the service review recommendation. Not going to get to our office also, I guess.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is just a quick update regarding our service delivery review recommendations. As we've been working on the strategic plan process, there was comment made at one of our meetings with council that council would like an update on how we're doing with our service delivery review. And we hadn't done an update for you since October 2023, so this was the perfect time to bring this back. So as the management team, we had gone through all of our recommendations in our tracker. And as you can see from the report, 69% of the recommendations are now complete, with 31% in progress. And so that's quite a good improvement from where we were in October, where 46% of the recommendations were complete and 54% were in progress. So we've made really great headway on this, and as we continue to move forward, we'll keep you updated on a quarterly basis. And with the service, with the strategic plan project continuing forward, which I'm sure Lana will talk about in a moment, this will be back before you in short order. But I'm happy to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Any questions, comments? Councilor Ward.
Through you, Chairman thank you very much, Martina, for the update. I was pretty impressed when I took a look through. It's nice to have an update periodically and just say, wow, we've come a long way in a pretty short period of time. So thank you very much for putting that together. And I guess with that comment, I would like to make a motion to receive with thanks.
Thank you very much. I'm a secretary, Deputy Mayor Nelson. Just a quick comment, if I may. I'm really impressed on how this has gone, especially with COVID hitting and so on like that. It really did put a lot of kibosh on a lot of things. But I'm also happy to see that, you know, there was a lot of recommendations made in there, but we're not necessarily following everyone. Times have changed since this review was done, stuff like that. And I'm glad to see that the committee is looking, okay, this is black and white kind of like that. This is what we're going to do. No, that's not the case. They're actually looking at it and saying, okay, this was maybe good in 2018 or 19, whenever or 17, whenever this was done, but it has changed since then, and we're looking at those changes and making those changes to suit today's flavor. So thanks to all the committee for that and their insight into that, and much appreciated. Okay, anything else? No, we'll receive that report, please, with thanks.
Oh, no, yeah.
Oh, sorry, no, sorry. All in favor? My apologies. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Martina. Much appreciated. CEO report. You're up.
Thank you, Chair Watt. And thank you for the comments on the service delivery review, both yourself and Councillor Report. I think when staff went through it, we were quite impressed too with how much had been accomplished, and you know, felt that at this point we could probably continue to give updates, whether it's quarterly or semi-annually, just to let council know where we're at. But further to your point, for sure, there are things that have changed or things that we chose to do differently, and we recognize some of that too. So it's been a great document though, and something to work from, and I think certainly we can go on. So staff's done a great job.
Absolutely.
Just a couple of things on my report. Most of the information is there. One thing that I didn't highlight, probably to the extent I should have, is the work on short-term rentals. I've spent some considerable time going through and hoping that that report will get finalized today, so it'll be ready for you on February the 20th. Worst case, it'll go March the 5th, but I'm going to do everything I can and possibly ask the clerk for an extension on my report, but I'll get it to her today so that I can get that in front of you, because I know that's something that I've definitely had some inquiries about. People are waiting to see, and council is certainly waiting to see that. So we can get that in front of you and have some discussion about how we move forward with that particular report.
Sorry.
Nelson.
Sorry, before you move on, just on that, have you seen what the federal government has come up with for short-term rentals?
In what respect?
They are looking at a nationwide registry, I guess, on short-term rentals through the federal government. That's as far as
So through the chair, there's certainly a lot that's happening both at the provincial and the federal level, and I do identify that in my report because I think the environment is ever changing. So there's still a lot of things, a lot of movement that's happening. Anyway, I think we can probably have more discussion when I bring the report to you, but I'm trying to monitor, and part of that is the time. You know, we also have received some costing on some of these external companies that will assist in managing them. So I just received one of those proposals yesterday. So it's just taking a lot of time to bring everything in, and I do feel like everything is changing quite rapidly. So we'll try to get you the most up-to-date information, and we can chat about it and see how we are best to move forward.
Sure, thanks.
Any questions, comments?
Just a comment or a question. Now, these electric vehicle charging stations, are we getting involved in that at all? Or through the chair, it's a national.
Sure. Through Chair Watt, to Councillor Johnson, it's something I looked at a municipality, 3 municipalities actually, that did a joint venture, a similar kind of demographic to ours, and similar where they're not close, not walking distance of city services, but do have something similar to what the city of Peterborough would offer our residents in close proximity. They did submit a grant application. They did do some electric vehicle charging stations, as well as electric vehicles that they purchased that residents could actually use to access some of the services in the nearby city. So I did have a good conversation with the CAO that put that grant application together and chatted about how they did that collaboratively with the neighboring municipalities. And then there was a webinar. There's been a number of funding opportunities that have come through, some just for the charging stations, some for vehicles. So I did attend the webinar. There's a lot of information there, and it's sort of one of those things that it takes some time to really investigate to determine if it's something that would be suitable for us, but very high level at this stage that I'm just looking at what opportunities might be there.
And to the chair, I just got one more question that, I don't know who would answer this, but how are we in the process of now applying for any other grants, like for different, I know we talked about the arenas and we're going to maybe look at some grants that could move forward on a few things. I mean, we got some grants that we were requesting for that we're waiting for an answer in. Are we involved in it?
Through the chair, Councillor, we're constantly looking at it. So the finance department monitors every grant opportunity. We try to make sure that, they're aware of what we're looking at. More so GJO is aware of what we are looking at for opportunity to see if there's anything that fits. There have been a couple of grants that our fire chief has actually done. I believe there's still one outstanding, one that he was successful in receiving some grant funding. We've been looking at the RED program. We looked at it here. We also had some conversations at the county level about whether or not it was something that we should be looking at as a group. So certainly everything that comes through, we try to find something that works to see if there's an opportunity, but there hasn't been a ton that's come through. Is there something in the works right now?
Through the chair, what was the name of, I'm trying to remember, was it the hydro?
Yes, the hydro grant.
So we did submit a grant application last week, losing track of time. But recently, we submitted a grant application through Hydro for some work at one of our park locations to redo one of the shelters at Clintonia Park. So, it's one of those projects, I think, that if we were able to fund it through grant funding. So it was a park shelter and path to the park, maybe some accessibility features. So that's the one that we got off recently. We have application out there for Canada Summer Jobs. And there's one closing this week for another kind of young employee student type grant that we're going to submit an application for. And because we aren't sure if we'll get Canada Summer Jobs, and we don't typically find out till April, so we're going to apply for both and see what happens.
Thank you.
One more thing to the chair that I'm just thinking about is it, we used to get an update on our solar panels and what monies that we're recouping from the different places we've got them. Is that something we can get down the road too? Just to see how we're making their money wise, is that we're getting something out of it?
For sure. Get a report to him.
If I may please, short-term rentals, and it's just a question, and it might have been answered before, right, a refreshment, I don't need it now, but maybe in the report, how they determine what a short-term rental is. I know we've had many discussions here about, mom and dad that rent the cottage to the family members for 2 weeks in the summertime. I got, it's not really, they're renting a short term, but it's not really in the realm of what some of them are. So I guess the distinction in there is going to have to be pretty decisive when it comes down to how things go and how they don't. So that's just a comment. I don't need to answer that right now. My other question is whether staff or council has heard anything about it, and I just heard about this in the last week. And I know we dealt with these offshore ones on stilts, these once people were building cottages, like whatever, in the water, but they're on stilts. So I mean, do we have jurisdiction? Does it Trent Severn? Is it, or is it like whatever? And I think, if I remember correctly, we put the kibosh on in our township, not allowing them at all. But I just heard here the other day that now there was at least one or two on Stony Lake this past summer and they're containers, floating containers, and they just told them, out the water into a bay, and they're on it. So is that something we've got to deal with here in the near future, and how those get regulated? I never even heard of them until just this last couple of weeks, and they said there was one of McCracken's Landing for sure this past summer. People just towed it in, lived in it for a week or 2 weeks. I don't even know who owned it. I have no idea. They just hooked onto the boat, towed it to a lovely spot in the lake, and that's where their cottage is for the week or 2 weeks, whatever. And I don't know who owns them or anything. But you have heard of them, obviously.
Floating accommodations. And I don't know if Dawn has any update. I think they're difficult for us to regulate, but certainly something that's been talked about, probably more in the building department than anywhere else, maybe planning, but I'll put Dawn on the spot to see if he has anything to offer.
Through the chair, nothing to offer new that we reviewed it a couple of years ago, as it come out. And again, just monitoring the situation, wasn't aware that one had happened.
All right, yeah, if you hear anything, maybe you just, quick brief to their council once in a while, this is what's happening here, this is what's, it just intrigued me, how that shit, I've never heard of them, and they're like containers, like you put on your property for storage, but yeah, they build there, put living accommodations inside and have them float. So, all right, no, that's fine. All right, if no other questions or comments, I'll
Make a motion, please.
thank you, Councilor Johnson, Senator Nelson, all in favor? Carried, thank you very much. All right, we're moving right along here quite well. I'm guessing Alana, the CAO, says for the food recycler for animal waste diversion.
Thank you, Chair Watt. The recommendation is as CAO 2024-03, report dated February 13th, 2024, regarding food cycler food waste diversion municipal pilot project be received, and that council approved the transfer of $12,500 from the general reserve to fund the food cycler pilot program. This came from the presentation that was done previously to Committee of the Whole with regards to the food cycler. We have had lots of discussion about organic waste and how we might manage that, but in talking with other municipalities, specifically in the county, this project has been quite popular and has been received relatively well. Food Cycler does a great job at managing it on our behalf for the most part. They will do a lot of the legwork, and they will run the pilot program, so we can then come back to council and determine how much take up there is and how much interest and whether or not we want to move forward. You'll see in the report there is a grant program as well, so the cost is not entirely borne by the municipality. And there is a portion also that the residents will pay to purchase one of these items, but the cost of $12,500 seems reasonable from a municipal standpoint to invest, and that's essentially the request to fund that, so we can move forward.
All right, thank you very much. Comments, questions, Councilor Johnson?
To the chair, yeah, I'm totally in favor of doing this, because I've had people ask, pilot program, how are we going to get 100 participants? Like, how would we reach out? Like, say we want, say 200 people, say, no, we want, how are we going to do that?
Through the chair to Councilor Johnson, the program as it's established right now is for 100. I mean, if council wanted to make that 200, we could certainly double the contribution and make it 200, but essentially it will begin at 100 people. It gives, with our size of municipality, it will give them a good number to be able to look at the uptake and how successful it is. It will basically be on a first come, first serve. We'll promote it through our website and every other way that we can, similar to the tree program. I expect that we'll have lots of interest, and food cyclers will handle all of the orders, and then they will be shipped here and we will distribute them on a specific date. Again, similar to our tree program. So I anticipate that they will go relatively quickly. I think there's been enough discussion in the community. I think our neighbors are doing it, so certainly people are talking about it. I don't think there'll be any problem with 100, and then if it is that successful, we'll come back and report, and we can determine whether or not council wishes to invest more.
Well, my concern is that who gets it? I mean, someone can say, I didn't see it online, and all of a sudden, too late, I guess. Like, it should be somewhere noted, but then you can't start until such a date or whatever. I don't know how to do it, but the thing is just to throw it out and let someone phone in and next people don't know until 2 weeks later. I don't know.
Through the chair to Councilor Johnson, exactly what happened with our tree program. You know, we didn't know that we were going to have as much interest as we did, and we tried our best to to establish a program where everybody got an opportunity, but there was lots of people that didn't know about it until after. So, we'll make changes this year. We do have money that council has already approved for that program. We'll make some changes to try to hit additional people. This one, we'll set a date for orders, but it will be a first come, first serve. And again, we'll come back to council if it's successful and if council wants to invest. There is a portion that council has to invest, so we can't leave it open. We have to bring it down to a certain number, but
Okay.
we'll bring it back, and if we want to do more, we can.
Thanks to you, Councilor Watt. Just I wanted to let everybody know, or let council know, there's a lot of stuff happening at the county right now with waste and with looking at collection of garbage, and there's going to be a delegation coming to council. Do you know when that is?
Through the chair and the deputy mayors, my information currently is that they're reaching out specifically to municipalities and those that are interested, and then subsequent to that, they will have somebody come and do a presentation to individual councils. So likely March or April before we
Yeah, I was thinking maybe by the end of March, but anyways, March, April, sometime then, but having said that, the waste committee has made recommendations, or are making recommendations to county council for the green waste, to look at providing service throughout the county for the green waste, and that green waste would be going to the city of Peterborough, and they want the green waste, and they've already started collection. They've kicked off their program to actually collect all organics, and well, currently it's about 60% they figure is going to landfill right now from the county in waste, so in organics. So anyways, I don't know what the outcome is going. It's kind of premature. I can't tell you what the outcome will be for the county, but that's going to be the recommendation from the committee that I sit on, or we sit on for the organics. So this is kind of an add-on, I guess, to that whole program as well. Trent Lakes is actually with the recycling program, or with the recycler, sorry, what has been presented here today, and Selwyn, Havelock, Belmont, Thune, I'm forgetting. Trent Lakes, Havelock, Belmont, Thune, Selwyn, and Autonomy, I believe is Autonomy? Sorry. Yes, North, sorry, not Autonomy, Northport. Anyways, sorry if I made a mistake there, but anyways, a bunch of townships are involved. They jumped on this pretty quickly quite a while ago. Anyways, I'm in full support of this, and I believe it's another avenue of start getting rid of, because a lot of people are waiting, anticipating stuff. So especially when it comes to the green waste. Thanks.
In green waste, I think when they talked to us, when they came out, or when they did the presentation, like we're talking meat, bones, that kind of stuff, not your, because I mean, I've got a bin up the house there, I don't know, ever since they first moved here to the township, my vegetables and that kind of stuff, with, and get mixed up in that, but there's never been a place for the meat and bones to go, except for the foxes in the backyard, but they love it. But that being said, and I think this guided information, because it's all new, people say, oh, well, why don't we do something bigger? And I want to acknowledge we did get a couple of emails on, with respect to this portion of the meeting today. But and by reading the one, I don't put my meat and bones in my unit in the backyard and like that. So it's not what it's made for. This is a separate unit altogether. So if this is the start of the program, and then as Deputy Mayor Nelson says, it's going to expand down the road, I think this is a good start for us to get it implemented and get people used to the idea that, hey, this does work. And then, when it's on a bigger scale with the county or however, if they do come up with things, absolutely fantastic, but I could at least acknowledge the two emails that we got saying that, you know, that we are in receipt of them, and two council members, and thank you. And anything else? Councilor report, any questions, comments?
No, just more or less echoing the last couple comments there too. This is a pilot program. It's a good way for people to get an introduction. There will definitely be far more demand than we have available. And I guess with that, I would like to make a motion to receive the report and to approve the transfer of $12,500 from reserves into the program.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion, comments, questions? All right, all in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Excellent, we're moving right along here. Okay, so has anyone got any new business for our next meeting? That they can pick up now. If they don't have it right now, please get it in staff in due time before our next committee of the whole, that they can make sure that they've got any documentation that we need or any questions or comments. So, but other than that, before I take the floor here, I would just like to say, you know, thank you to all the staff for doing this every couple of months. I know it was kind of a do we not with the last council, and it ended up we did do it. Discussions like this don't happen in a council meeting. And I think this is very beneficial for us as council, but I think it also is very beneficial for staff to give us a little more detail than that. So I really do appreciate it. And on behalf of all the council, I'd like to say thank you to all the managers and staff for putting this together for us. Deputy Nelson.
I can certainly talk about new business, I guess, with the staff afterwards. I'd like to see maybe a zoning bylaw change, maybe with septics. I've had received actually a couple more calls about zoning, about the setback on septic systems has changed from being what was 3 meters, I believe, to or 10 feet from property lines to being 15 meters. And I believe that needs to be definitely looked at. So we need to definitely talk about that. See whether we want to change that. Maybe that isn't the time to talk about it.
I don't know when would be a good time to.
Through the chair, I'm just trying to think of the best way from a process standpoint. If we're looking at a zoning bylaw amendment, I certainly think it needs to be a motion of council that makes that request to staff if it's going to be township initiated. I don't know. Don, are you familiar with what the deputy mayor is looking for?
Yes, I believe so, through the chair. I think
Enough to be able to bring a report back, I guess is my question. Or do you think they need to have further discussion at a council level?
I guess if I could get, maybe it's worth having some clarification of what they like, what they're proposing, what they're thinking. I think I know, but.
Could we add it to our council agenda?
Sure.
And then you could speak to it then, and then council can have a discussion about, because maybe all of council also isn't quite entirely aware. Yeah. And if you could speak to it then, and then we will ask council to make a motion to direct the building department to come back with a report on a potential zoning bylaw amendment, and council then can move forward with it, or if that's okay.
That's fine.
Perfect, thank you. Councilor Johnson.
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, you were saying that that last term of council thought that we have these meetings.
Yes.
We used to always have.
And then we did it for quite a long time. Yeah, towards the last week, I think it was Councilor Lansman brought up the fact that she would like to see them reinstated, so we got them back and forth.
I think they're important because I always like to talk to the different departments, and then I was told not to talk to different departments.
Absolutely.
And somewhere along the line, we've got to talk to the department heads.
And this is what I do when we have time to discuss things like more, and that's what I was getting at. Like in a council meeting, we just had the clerk section on staff reports. You didn't have time to delve into a lot of things like that, so then it didn't really get answered per se like it does in these meetings. So I'm really impressed with how these go, and every 2 months certainly still satisfies what I need as a councillor. So. And
I seen in here, I was going through things about family day at the ice, in Douro, we're having free ice, sponsored by the Knights of Columbus and the Lions, sponsoring an hour and a half of ice plus a beverage or a hot dog and stuff like that we've been doing for a few years.
Very nice.
So just to get the word out, which I guess it is already.
Yeah, very nice. Good joint project between the two, places. Anything else, any of that, Council Board, anything for next meeting?
Nothing on my end, no.
Thank you very much. In that case, we'll move on to closed session, which we have none. So our next is our next meeting.
So through you, Mr. Chair, our next meeting for the committee of the whole is April 9th, 2024. So it's the second Tuesday in April.
Same time, 10 o'clock, that's good for everyone. Perfect. All right, that's fantastic. All right, then I guess all we have left is adjournment, please. So motion adjourned.
Well, I'll make a motion to adjourn and also thank you, Tom, for running a nice meeting.
Thank you very much. And do we have a seconder for adjournment?
Just before we adjourn, I thought of one other,
Awesome.
one other question, I guess. For United Way, we always used to have some barbecues and a barbecue like for maybe once straight a year or whatever, whether we have it maybe at a committee of the whole or at a, well, probably committee of the whole last time, we didn't remember much. I just wondered if that was something we could ask to continue and have maybe a barbecue or lunch for maybe all staff afterwards, and council be involved with. Or I don't mind donating for United Way, so I just wondered if that's something we could look at or have staff look at.
Through Chair Watt to the Deputy Mayor. We did do a barbecue 2 years ago, not specific for United Way though. And last year we kept trying, but I don't know, for some reason, we never managed to pull it together. But if you'd like us to do it specifically for donations to the United Way, we can certainly do that. We also have already talked about trying to do that this year so that council can come out with staff and do a barbecue, so.
Well, whatever, it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be United Way. I just thought maybe that might be a nice gesture for council to be involved or have a barbecue. But anyway, I'll leave that up to staff.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, sorry.
So
I'll second that motion. I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Excellent. Motion to adjourn is approved. Thank you very much, Adam, for coming online.
Thank you very much.
Online for the next meeting for the committee of the whole. And I guess we'll see you next Tuesday for the council.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, everyone.